Welcome back, TCS viewers. It is Chris Niccolls here from the couch today. And in 2012, Nikon introduced the Nikon D600. Now, we reviewed this camera. We loved the image quality. In fact, I enjoyed using it so much, I went out and bought one myself, and it's been fantastic. However, there was one issue that kept dogging the D600, and that's this oil on the sensor from the shutter mechanism issue. Now, let's paint you guys a picture of how serious the internet thought this issue was. I hate cleaning this thing all the time. Now, in all honesty, we sold hundreds of D600s through our store, and we didn't have really any issues with them on this dust oil kind of business. You know, a quick clean of the sensor and they're ready to go. So we couldn't really evaluate the same kind of issues. But anyways, Nikon brings out the D610. Now, it looks, feels, and smells like a D600 because it basically is, with just a new shutter mechanism. And basically, they only updated a few features. We're getting 5.5 frames per second now to 6 frames per second. We're getting a quiet shutter, which the D600 has, but you can now shoot at 3 frames per second. And you also get a new white balancing system. We're going to take a look at a few of these changes and let you hear it, but overall, it's minor. Is it a cover-up just to get that D600 oil issue out of the way? Possibly. All right, so let's compare the differences between these shutters. D610 first in continuous high-speed mode, 6 frames per second. And D600, same thing, 5.5 frames per second. There we go again. And you can hear a difference, but it is super slight. And of course, the other change is quiet shutter mode. Both cameras have it, but the 610 does it continuously, 3 frames per second. Check this out. Not bad. Now, the 600 doesn't have continuous, but if I fire it in a semi-automatic mode, so to speak, I can do this. Back to the 610. I mean, yes, we have a speed advantage, but it's really not that big a deal. Very minor improvement. Now, about the only other improvement that Nikon is claiming is that the D610 has better auto white balancing. Here we're looking at a photo of Jordan being a supermodel with his duck faces, and you can see that the 610 handles the yellow fluorescent a little bit more neutrally. We're getting a little bit cleaner color, but again, it's so minor, it's easily white balance adjusted, or you can take care of it in post. Not a huge deal. So I hope you guys have seen that the upgrades that they've done on the D610 are really incredibly minor. It's pretty obvious that this is a revision to cover up the bad press and history on the D600. Now, again, in our opinion, we have seen how many oil and dust issues on D600s? 0 in our own experience. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist, but the amount of people that have complained or worried about their D600s having oil and dust issue could fill a small town in our store. So, you know, yes, there's a lot of negative press. I don't think it's as big a deal as you might think. And if you have a 600, don't feel like you have to go get a D610. I'm certainly not going to. Thanks for watching. Let's check out one more thing with Jordan Drake. Hi, Snuggle Puff.
Hey, Puddin' Pop.
So we just got ourselves a brand new 68-inch gigantic 4K TV.
Yeah, this big Sony 4K TV. We're so excited. It's gorgeous. It's sharp. It's so many more Ks. We can never get enough Ks.
We have lots of K now. But what we don't have is any content shot in 4K to show on this thing.
Exactly.
Right?
I haven't shot anything with it.
So what are we doing today with our
Today,
video?
I am shooting this right now on Sony's AX1. It's their new 4K camera, but kind of interesting because it's a smaller chip, kind of an event style camera.
Well, let's talk about it. Now, this is the first 4K camera that we've used in one of our shoots, right? But it's not the first 4K camera we've had in the store.
Oh no, we've had some other ones. We've got the FS700 that's compatible, Canon 1DC. We even had a really similar idea, the JVC HM-Q10, and that was still a small sensor camera that shoots 4K.
But really weird implementation.
Yeah,
right?
it was 4 SD card slots to record the 4 different corners of the frame, and you'd have to build them.
Oh,
that was kind of clunky.
And not very safe either in case something goes wrong.
Exactly.
Well, what's going on with this then? I mean, it looks a lot like a Sony NX5. Is it very similar to that? Are we still getting ND filters?
That's the great thing, is it's really easy to work with, because we've got ND filters built in, we got a big zoom lens, we have autofocus, XLR inputs, peaking, zebra, all that good stuff that you'd see on a pro camera is built in on this. So perfect for event work.
Right. So this is basically an NX5 upgraded to 4K.
Yeah, they took out the 3 chips, put in one large 8 megapixel chip.
Perfect.
And that's what's capturing our sharp video.
Fantastic. Do you like the lens on it?
It's okay. It could be a little wider, would be my one concern. It's a 31.5 mil wide. You know, I prefer something a little wider. 24 mil is one of my favorite focal lengths. But it's a huge telephoto. So if you were doing like a nature documentary or something, be a killer B cam for that.
Okay, so let's talk about codecs. Let's talk about data rates, because that stuff's important too. What are we getting through on this?
Well, right now I'm shooting 30 frames a second.
Okay.
And we're getting 100 megabits per second, same as we'd get at 24. It does also shoot 60p. That'll bump you up to 150 megabits per second.
Now, on a 1080p camera, 100 megabits per second would be a lot of data, but on a 4K, it really isn't,
No, it's not that much. It'd be the same as 25 megabit per second. Really similar to most of the AVC HD cameras out there.
But this isn't shooting AVC HD.
No, this is a new format. It's a XAVC-S. So we've shot XAVC before on the F5, F55. It's a beautiful codec. This is their 420 version of it. The higher end codec on the F55, F5 is 10-bit 422.
Right.
So it's scaling things back a little. What's great about it is it's very efficient. So I got a 32 gig card in there right now. I'm getting 42 minutes of recording time.
Right.
There is a camera above this, same form factor, same everything, that shoots 422, but we'd be getting less than 10 minutes on that same 32 gig card. So for field work, this is a lot more practical. If we were doing more studio work or something, maybe jump up to that Z100 would make more sense.
Get the extra grading potential.
Exactly.
Now, normally a camera of this caliber, you'd be expecting very expensive S/S cards, but we actually have a different media type in here, don't we?
Yeah, we're shooting, going way back to the D4 launch a while
way
back.
back to the D4, yeah.
There was the XQD cards that it used, and this is the next line that's actually using those cards.
So we finally have a second camera in the market that uses XQD, which
Exactly.
means it might not be a dead card format after all.
Yeah, and they're actually quite a bit less expensive than an equivalent S/S card.
And I do like them. Very small, very, very safe. Excellent.
Yeah, they're great cards. In terms of image quality, I mean, it's crazy sharp. It's 4K, but it's a little limited in other regards, and dynamic range isn't great. This window behind me is probably totally blown out right now, and it's not really sensitive. You know, we're shooting at 0 decibels gain right now. It seems roughly equivalent to about 100 ISO. That's pretty low, so indoors, you're gonna have to light things. It's a fairly bright lens, but it's not always gonna make up for it. And as well, if you start cranking that gain, it's not that noisy, but it really softens the image. And then what's the point of shooting with a 4K camera?
All right, so people want to know, you've shot with the camera, what are your impressions of it?
I mean, in terms of handling, it's the same as an NX5. Feels really similar. I do wish that they'd made some advancements from there. I mean, you know, it's a small chip, big area and focus, but it's 4K now, so I'd really like the ability to really punch in and check focus. I can still only magnify 50%, which is not enough to really confirm.
Strange.
And it's tough to work with in some other ways. There's no histogram, there's no waveforms for checking exposure. You're just eyeballing it off the display. So I'd have to add an external monitor with that to check exposure effectively. So it really is designed as almost kind of a point and shoot pro camera. You know, great for event shooters, wildlife, that kind of stuff, but you're eyeballing exposure and you're hoping with focus.
Right.
The big depth of field helps with that, but again, focus is so critical when you have something.
Hopefully they'll take care of that.
It seems like something they could add through firmware. Sony's been, especially lately, very responsive with firmware. You know, it was an interesting experiment shooting with it today. And you know, the 4K footage is beautiful, but I think we'll be back on the FS700 for most of our regular shooting.
Oh, and our TV's not going to look very good, is it?
No, because the Odysseys are shipping, so I'll get wonderful 4K out of that. Yeah, I'm very excited. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be back soon with some more TCSTV.
Thank you very much.